Hello.
Hello, my love. How are you?
Ah, am I alive? I don't know if I'm real. Are you real? Are you alive right now?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess that means that's why we're doing another episode of The Mess, because things are a mess, aren't they?
I would say so. I'd say more messiness in conjunction with one another than in a while.
Oh, wow. Well, I feel like, we were having, I'm gonna say past tense because I feel like things are a little different for our viewers today. We're recording on Monday, the
Second.
22nd. Yeah,
Yep.
22nd. So, a lot of what we're going to talk about today has been about what happened over the course of the last week. And we'll get into all of that. But yeah, I feel on an energetic level, there's a new energy, and that is very exciting to see what that entails over the next few weeks. But yes, I think one of the things that I feel, this podcast is called The Mess. It's a kind of a loose political podcast.
Mhm.
We're both political savvy people that are driven by our ideas, and we love to talk and sometimes debate and get a sense of like what we feel. But we've been very careful about only doing it when things seem super crazy because it's called The Mess. And I feel like our first episode was during the pandemic, and that was a very long mess. That was a
Exactly.
mess that started like all over the course of 2020. This mess was like a really intense, like week-long mess. Not saying other things that have happened this year weren't part of that mess, but for the last week, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's just been ramping up really for the past 3 weeks. Like, I think if we start with the debate,
Yeah.
or even before that,
It
no.
was getting a little because like June was an interesting month and things started getting everyone started talking more about it. It was like we got into June and everyone's like, oh crap, we're really moving towards this election. And all the pressure was on the debate. What's gonna happen? We're putting these two people face to face again. And I think the debate was the inciting incident. It really was the new beginning of the story. Everything for the last 3.5 years was us as a country going through some fucked up version of therapy
Hmm.
from what we dealt with in 2020.
Hmm.
And then it was like, oh shit, here's your TV screen, here's Trump, here's Biden. They're going at it again.
Hmm.
And I think America had a mental breakdown. Genuinely, it had a mental breakdown.
I believe it was definitely a collective mental breakdown. And everything has just been so chaotic and chaotic in ways that I think most people wouldn't have anticipated. Like a lot of people have sort of negative, catastrophic thinking about things in general, right? Things are terrible. This person's
Hmm.
terrible. That person's terrible. This economic situation is terrible. Like, yeah, okay, that's a constant. So that's fine. But then there's all these unexpected things where it's like, I don't think anybody thought that that debate was going to go well, but I did not expect it to be the depressing dumpster fire that it turned out to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly what it was. It brought back that we as a country hadn't really, on a cerebral level, healed from 2020. The fact that we were putting these two people back together again,
Hmm.
and it started a maelstrom of, oh no, I don't want to deal with this again. I don't want to face this again. I don't want this. And of course, the Democrats had to be the ones to discuss it. It wasn't going to be on the right. The right has literally said, we are the ego. We are representing this person. We don't care. He's going to get us the win. We're doing it.
Hmm.
So there's no chance. Like, even when you talk to a Trump supporter or just a Republican in general, too, a Republican that's choosing to still vote Republican regardless if they like Trump or not, there's no talking with them. I've had some conversations. I had one the other day with the Republican that surprised me. Somebody that I'm a part of a choir. I had no idea they were Republican. We had a very wonderful conversation. Wasn't bad at all. But I couldn't. I immediately was like, I'm not going to try to convince you or anything because you are so certain. Like, this is, you believe it because of your fiscal allegiance to the Republican Party. I get it, but it's like they are that. And so, of course, the Democrats were going to have to be the ones to air out all our laundry and have a recourse about this. And it was because he did a bad job. He
He did a
really
terrible
did a bad
job.
job.
It was
Terrible job.
painful. And I know we can all make excuses for him and say it was just one bad performance or whatever. And yes, we've all had bad performances. But that was like the bad performance. And it wasn't just one gaffe. It was a never ending black hole of, yeah, like,
Literally from the moment he walked out onto stage, even at the very end, as Jill had to kind of like guide him off,
mm-hmm,
it it was evident that he was tired.
exactly.
Yes, he's old and blah blah blah. But I think Biden has gotten us as a president. It's evident the man knows how to work politics. But as a campaign man, as somebody that has to razzle dazzle you and
Right.
build
As a
up a base and
spokesperson, as a representative of an entire nation,
tired.
we just can't. We
No, we couldn't.
we can't.
No, and that's where it became why it felt like a mental breakdown. Because literally for 2.5 weeks before last weekend when the attempted assassination took place, it was only going to everyone was talking about it. Everyone was like, no, 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 no. So many people like people on the left were saying we need to change. Then other people on the left were like, fuck you. You can't take back the guy I want. And a lot of those people tend to be the older Democrats that really want Joe Biden to still have been their nominee. And then the younger Democrats were like, no, no, this I'm blasting the door open. We are not running this guy. And I think this is where it got really crazy and it got really hot in the world. It got very like, I feel like my brain was so overwhelmed by this that what happened the weekend of the attempted assassination felt like a truly universal wake up call that we as a society of humans had to change course.
Exactly. And it was so, and the thing is, first of all, it's still mind-blowing to me how that even happened. But it's also mind-blowing to me why. You know, like, you don't think of the people who enjoy shooting people with rifles as being Democrats or liberals. So even just psychologically, it was kind of a mind F of like, what even is this?
Exactly. I mean, it was like he's a registered Republican, but
Right.
he supported Democrats. And it was weird. Just the factual breakdown of it was just not able to generate a narrative. And that is what is crazy. Now they're doing an investigation. At some point, we'll probably get some real. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, there have been things in the past with like Kennedy and certain things where we only get certain information and things of that have may have taken place. So who knows? But what I agree is there was literally no way to like after it happened, it couldn't be just like, oh, go hate the Democrats. And it couldn't be just like, go hate the Republicans. It was like, we all have to feel really weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, one of the things like working at my shop and like talking to people, you know, I work in like a very kombucha bar metaphysical space. So there's lots of conversations with people. But it was like dicey tiptoeing around people, kind of like, not because I didn't, because I was afraid, but because so many people were so shielded up because a lot of people didn't know how to like process this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that we were talking about it. I'm glad that the few people that I was able to talk to about this, I do think it was healthy because I think last week the reason why I felt like a mess was because for me, what it came down to ultimately was, and I'm a big believer of energy, and I think politics is a big part of that. But literally, for some reason, the universe was like, Trump and Biden are literally going to destroy the world. If we keep playing them to each other,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to destroy the entire world.
Yeah. The whole thing was just falling apart. That whole event fell apart. And then, like, even the small things, like, I posted on my Facebook, it was basically a joke, but, at the RNC, how everyone wanted to show up with bandages on their ears out of solidarity or whatever, which, like, is fine. But I made the point, well, I find it interesting that people are wearing bandages on their ears for funsies, but they're the same people who wouldn't wear masks for realsies. And I thought that was just kind of ironic, but people came out of the woodwork on my Facebook and were pissed. And I'm like, guys, first of all, it's a pretty simple comparison. Second of all, I didn't ask your opinion, really. So you can get off my feed with this mess because this is not what this is about. I mean, it's a pretty
No.
simple comparison. We're willing to wear bandages on our ears to show, but we were absolutely against wearing masks out of like rules. And I'm like, and those are the same people. So that sort of like cognitive dissonance, the mental gymnastics that are going on, like seeing that on display so much in the past few weeks has been like very disorienting, at least to me. Because
It
for a
is
second
because,
there, it was like kind of like you could kind of understand where people stood and so why they were acting the way they were based on that position. But the past few weeks, it's like
oh,
random.
totally. Well, it did, it, one of the things that I will say the attempted assassination did on a observational level is it really showcased how um, intoxicated his base is for him.
Hmm.
It just, I mean, we already knew that they were into him, but this only gave them more reason to like tighten ranks. And I feel like what I saw at the RNC was a, and this is why I felt crazy. It's from Monday through Thursday. It was like, hey, this crazy thing happened. We all got to unify. And to each day, it became, yeah, we are doing Project 2025. Oh, yeah, we're selecting JD Vance to be the apprentice to Trump. Yeah, we're doing this. And then Trump came out and he could have changed the narrative. He could have changed it and said, yeah, I got shot. Oh, it's awesome. You're wearing this in solidarity. Instead, he said, I'm going to talk to you for 92 minutes and I'm going to go deep, Hannibal Lecter deep,
Hmm.
all the crazy deep. And they sat there and they ate it up.
Hmm.
And you could see in
Also,
their
he said
eyes,
all the things he said out loud, all the crazy things that a lot of us on the left or just relatively normal people that staunch Trump supporters said, he didn't say that. He wouldn't do that. Democrats do that for years. And he literally rambled on for 90 minutes and said every single one of those things. And everyone in that audience was like, cool.
yeah, I watched Bill Maher and they had a Republican on and he was, they brought it up and he just was like, anytime pivot. No, it's okay. We're not like they're so okay with that. And I think, you know, Biden is a God man. He is a very Catholic Christian man. And people can say what they want about Christianity. It has lots of its faults. But I think some people that are very much they live a certain moral code. And I think Biden has a very deep connection to that moral code. And it was going to take somebody like him, regardless of whether it was about the politics or the numbers or whatever. It was going to literally take somebody that just said, I'm done. I cannot win this for you. And it's evident. And I think he had to go to his faith. I have to believe that. I think that's who he is to really make that answer because it felt when he finally made the choice, it changed the whole narrative already. People are, you know, oh, what a great guy. Like, oh, look, he's really is what he is saying. He is expressing, like, if you really, I can't get the numbers. I believe in you. And if you really want this, then I'm going to support my VP. And it's just like refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, it's so refreshing to see somebody actually step down and just say it's never been about the power. It really was. I just want to take care of the country, and
Yeah.
I think it
Well, and
emulates him.
I think people have been a little heavy-handed in saying so noble and selfless and all of that. Like, yes, I mean, Lord knows a lot of politicians would not have done that. But also, when it comes to the selflessness thing, like, yeah, but also, like you said, he's tired. Like, honestly, I think it took him actually going through that sort of public display of inability to do it for him to realize that, you know? I mean, did he have to? No. But after the past couple of weeks that he's had, would he really want to? Like, would he, what would happen at the other end of it? He's already kind of falling apart, which is understandable for someone in their 80s. And I think actually having the whole world see it, there's no denying it and there's no going back.
Yep, and I think what is so intriguing about all this, and I think the reason why, because the media is going to be heavy-handed. As soon as they're like, Biden, he is so amazing. He's a great savior, mentor guy. But honestly, they're going to do that regardless. Um, but
Well,
what I
but would they have done that if he'd stayed in the race and lost?
No, they would have torn it
So
up
in a
because
way, he is getting exactly what he wanted, which is a positive end to his legacy that shows him as being an American.
and it lets him just enjoy the rest of his presidency and being able to come to terms with the fact that it was COVID all along. It was COVID. He got COVID, and COVID came in, and she was like, "I'm gonna be the Christmas Carol. We're gonna talk right now." I feel like him being 80 in his 80s and tired and like all the scrutiny, and then getting COVID. COVID was the last straw. He was like, "Yo," because you know what would have happened if he stayed on the capture trail. He would have gotten COVID again. He would have gotten it again. That man gets COVID all the time. He's old. It's like part of like one of the things he has to be careful with. And I think he also is just like, dude, because you know how COVID is, like kind of knocks you down when you get it for a moment. It's like, and then he takes like a moment to jump back up, and you're like, your brain is all like, I can imagine that also played a low key factor in it, very much just being like, oh, yeah, I'm sick now too. Like,
Again,
you know, like it's gonna, because you're gonna have to shake hands. You got to do all the things. Your immune system is gonna be. It has to be super boosted and ready to deal with all of the interaction. And so there's also just physical factors. I mean, we're human beings, and humans can do incredible things, but we are also, biological creatures. We have to take care of our immunity. And I think there was also that as part of the factor that the media will never talk about, but that's the real things that I think that also really pushed him probably outside of it, just being like, physically, can you really do this? Are you ready to like put the physical energy in? And I think I'm excited for Kamala. I really am. I think I'm already on this. So like I am pretty left, but I do like to be very moderate in looking at things in the future. And when it comes to the Democrat Party, I always vote blue. But the amount of energy that I give, sometimes I have to feel like is for the candidate. Like with Biden, I was gonna be like, we're gonna do it regardless. But with Kamala, I'm actually really excited, and I'm very much in the just go vote blue. Like we were already going to do it. You were going to vote blue regardless. But now you get to do it even exciting. And I like Kamala. And I think Kamala is actually going to be the kind of justice that we need to kind of Lady Justice to come in and really help maybe get this country back into some order again on a
mm,
conscious level.
well, and on a very basic level, she's not senile or insane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that the bar has become that low, but
And if Mexico can elect their first female president, America can elect its first female president. I think we are at a point right now as a country. We need to move past Trump. We do.
mhm.
We really need to move past Trump. He needs to fade away. And it's boring. It's exhausting. It's old. And I think it's gonna take somebody like Kamala to really combat him. Like the debate, it's gonna like her debate with him is gonna be different, but
Yeah.
it's going to be exactly what we need it to be. And I think that's what's gonna be very refreshing is to have her standing toe to toe with him because I think that's gonna be the thing that's gonna shift the minds is because and it's so crazy that these debates it's like if you did debate in school you realize how important debate is but like it's interesting how these debates in America really like reflect our culture but you know I think having her debate him is going to be a great rebuttal to how his debate with Clinton was back in 2016
Mm.
because I think there's enough for her to come in Kamala to really just shoot him down as a prosecutor,
Hmm.
that I think is going to play really well for the American psyche.
Yeah. And it's also, I mean, again, low bar, but someone coming in with not as much well-known baggage. I mean, that was Hillary's big problem, or one of her big problems, was everyone knew her stuff. And so we had opinions about that.
And it's also Hillary, and this is the thing, it's Hillary was also, she was the first lady.
Mhm.
And then to become president, yes, even though she was a senator and she has many things to prove her accolades, but I think that was an easy way for Trump's team to really continue poking holes at it. Where Kamala is like, she's self-made in her own image, at least in the way they present the narrative. You know, it's her husband's the first husband. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she was somebody's wife achieving this. She was achieving this for herself,
Right.
no matter what. And I think that is important. I also think, just as people of color and as just in general, a Black woman that's also mixed race that has Indian heritage, that's freaking cool. Like, it's just cool. Like, it's cool to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to a lot of people of color probably too, because it's just different. And I think it's refreshing. And this country seems to do better. I can only compare that to, because with, at least with Obama, with 8 years, it changed the narrative for a good long time, for 8 years. And I think this can only change the narrative no matter what. And I think it gives people of color more room and more voice. And I think we need that, because I will say this, when I've talked to people of color about the mess and everything going on, I feel the future, and I've been able to have interesting conversations. When
Yeah.
I've talked with my friends that are of Caucasian background, it's been it can be exhausting.
Hmm.
Um, and look, my partner is white. I have many Caucasian friends. I love them, and I am not trying to umbrella everybody, because they're all different. But a lot of people that I talked to in the last week that were of that background, it was very difficult to have a conversation, because they didn't want to have the conversation,
Hmm.
because I think my observation is that this shatters a lot of what they think America really is. And for a lot of people of color, we've lived in a shattered America from a very long time. We've seen it, because to be a person of color in this country is not always been the easiest road for many people.
Really?
I'm right. And it wasn't a big shock. It just was like more like taking the medicine and being like, oh, finally, y'all are seeing like how messed up this is. And at least when Obama was the president, there was a different change of conversation. And I think with Kamala, to me, that is what's inspiring, is it'll just change the narratives, the conversations, and it creates more room for people of color to rise and have more space in this country.
I would hope so. And I'd hope that people would learn from that weird pushback from Obama being the first African American president. And that pushback gave us Trump. And I think a lot of people aren't glad that that's how that went. So perhaps all these years later, perhaps some people have opened their minds a little bit more to, let's actually look at the qualifications of a person and not just choose them to be some sort of offense against something that made us uncomfortable. That didn't go
Yeah.
so well.
Well, Yeah, and I think to your point of all that, it is very real. It, but I think in order to heal this and to weed out this racism, it's just racism. It's anger and it's racism and it's toxic masculinity that wants to control how you live and how you. It is part of this country that has to get like rooted out. And I think at yeah, if we didn't have Obama, perhaps we wouldn't see the truth and really just confront it. And that's what Trump is. He is the pimple that risen from there that we
Mhm.
have to like showcase how ugly it is until Dr. Pimple Popper can come in and clean it up. And I feel like it's
So gross.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous metaphors, but it is. And I think JD Vance is just another pimple that's part of that. And I think if Kamala, when Kamala wins, and this does, yeah, it may bring out the ugliness, but eventually people are just going to see that that is how ugly the Republican Party has become, and it'll either do one or two things. I don't believe everybody will jump on the Democrats, but it'll start forming a third party. And we've talked about this, a
Yeah.
moderate party. And I think it's healthy for the American system to begin to build a healthy third moderate party to shift. And I think if Republicans need to be this party that wants Handmaid's Tale and wants all this stuff and wants to do that kind of world, they have their right to try to push that, but as a country, but they don't have that right to inflict that on us. And
Right.
that is why our democratic ability, that's why we have to vote blue, we have to say no, because that's what they want to keep doing. I mean, that is what they've said to us. They've shown us their playbook, they've shown us who they're picking for their ticket. And, you know, I think all we can do is not let that happen by just choosing the other side and letting it play out the way it needs to play out. And I agree. Like I think with Kamala, it'll it'll happen, but here's what'll probably happen: the Republicans will then switch, and then they'll either start pushing like a Nikki Haley type or somebody, not in this election, but in the future. And perhaps
Right.
maybe that'll change the conversation too, because I think Nikki Haley, I'm not gonna get on a big thing, but like I don't think she is a Trump supporter at all. She says it,
Mm.
but you can tell she's only doing it because she's a Republican. But she's if Trump wasn't there, she would be saying a completely different message. But she's a Republican and she's willing to toe the line until he's not there. And so hope hopefully Kamala and everything works out and she gets the nomination. And who do you think she's gonna pick for VP? Or who would you like to see her with as a
Oh
VP?
gosh. Well, that's an interesting question because it's kind of like, well, who's available? Like, I mean, okay, I know it's an unpopular, it wouldn't work and they're not going to do it because it would be two Californians, but I still would pick Gavin Newsom.
I keep hearing it, and I'm not going to be surprised if she does pick Gavin Newsom. You know, but I mean, people do like Gavin. People like him. Some people really have that. He's got that look. Uh, I also think I wouldn't be surprised if she goes a little moderate with it and picks like a very chill Democrat. I don't think it'll be Hakeem. I think they're going to keep Hakeem where he's at right now.
Yeah,
But
that would
I
be
I
crazy.
I, I think that we need him as leadership in the House. Um, and then I think I'm going to be real because they put him on Bill Maher. I don't think she'll pick him, but I wouldn't be surprised. Pete Buttigieg. My only thing is that it adds such extra liberalness, and I don't know. But Pete is kind of a moderate though. When you listen to his like, he is the like transportation czar, but like when he was on campaign and the way he talked about his rhetoric, he is much more of like a moderate centrist Democrat. Like he's not trying to just push like big budget, and he did a really good job like I feel like they might push him because what he was going for JD Vance, like he was reading him to filth. And it was kind of fun to like see people that just let his little gay card come out. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
see, your gay card comes out when you want to
Well,
read the
yeah,
straight
that's the
guy.
reason I don't think it's gonna happen. I think it would be too, I mean, not in policy, but in appearance.
Perception, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be too liberal. It would, yeah.
Yeah, even though it's not. But brown woman, gay man,
They're gonna put
works for
AOC.
me, but I don't know. I don't know how many.
Kamala's like, we're gonna go super left. We're gonna put AOC in here with us.
That would actually be kind of awesome.
Or Bernie. Could you imagine Bernie? Bernie comes back.
That would be also awesome.
I would love that.
I would love that.
I would love that. Bernie's ass is like, I'm older than you all, and I'm still here. Oh, Bernie.
But the funny thing about Bernie is he's not that much older than all the other ones. He just acts
No, I
old.
know. He acts old. Man was old in his 20s. The guy's like,
Exactly. He was like born old.
there are some guys in this world that are just like born old. They're like Benjamin Button without the like physical change. They've just always been an old man.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. I think it's gonna be. I honestly, and this is the reason why I felt the way I felt about the Democrats. I don't know every Democrat. Like, I don't know some of them because sometimes they're actually just doing their jobs, and that's like the cool thing is like they're actually just working, and I shouldn't have to know all of them. Like, who's the next in chain? Like, I know obviously we've talked to some of the bigger names, but like maybe there's somebody else that I just don't know their name, but they may be actually better for what they're bringing them in. But I definitely think I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gavin Newsom because I think Gavin has this look and persona, and I think we're all talking about the future of the leadership. They're going to pick somebody that they really do want to groom for not because she wins. She's got 4 years, and then they'll probably run her for re-election. So 8 years of Kamala, they're going to want to play the long game a little bit because I think Democrat playbook is we've got to look at the next 16 years. If we
Yeah.
really want to like shift this country, not just super left, but like actually keep them from doing the crazy. Because right now with the Supreme Court and all the way, it's stacked in the sense that as soon as a Republican enters, they have room to kind of do things with it. And so I think the next 16 years would be enough time to really shift things. That's a big thing, but you know,
But that is kind
I
of
just think,
how those cycles kind of work. I mean,
yeah,
and one would hope that at the very least we can move forward. Like this Supreme Court is not going to be everyone on the Supreme Court for the next 16 years or probably even the next 10 or whatever. So even just giving the people the opportunity to have um, a balanced perspective as opposed to, well, now we have the Supreme Court that's completely oppressive and taking things away from you, regressing. It seems to me that it's in the best interest of every American to look forward. Look forward to how we make life more stable for everyone, how to make life more affordable for everyone, how to make life just in general safer for everyone.
I agree. You know, that's not socialism. That is just taking care of people. And I'm tired. This conversation I told you I had with a Republican the other day, that was their main thing about why they're so afraid of Democrats, is because he was like, They want to turn it into a socialistic country. And I didn't fight him. I didn't even say anything. I just nodded my head because to me, it wasn't about there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change you. I just simply said, okay, that's cool. Thank you for letting me know. Like, I'm very glad to understand why that's the root cause. Because I had asked them, I was like, when you look at Trump, he is not who he says he is, right? Like, he's not the God man that he says he is. Like, you've seen not just because of the court cases or any of the things, just like his actions, his words. And the person responded, yes. When he was like, the thing that makes me frustrated is I just wish he would shut up more. Because every time he starts talking more, it showcases that. But he was like, but I can't vote blue because I'm so afraid of socialism.
Exactly.
And
And that is the root of all of it, is what do we do in this country to make everyone less afraid? Because everyone is being forced to live out of fear,
and when
out
we
of
talk about
desperation.
and when you talk about taking care of people, that's what it is. The socialism is we got to stop thinking of taking care of people as socialism. That is the problem. Like, we're an individualistic country. America likes its celebrity. It likes the idea of an individual rising. But also, America wouldn't be what we are if we didn't have each other and we took care of each other. If we didn't take care of each other during Pearl Harbor, America wouldn't be here. If we didn't have each other during other, like the Spanish influenza, when we needed to take care of each other, people are Americans. We take care of each other. It's not perfect. It's not always going to be right, but we have to take care of each other. And I think the things that we're looking for, as you're talking about, like giving people working wages, getting people health care, just getting people basic needs should just be there. And it doesn't have to be about government spending. There's so much fucking money in this country.
There is
Freaking
so much money.
California.
And the thing is, like, that's what's strange to me is like, what is the fear of like these corporate overlords of having slightly fewer billions of dollars? I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine if you have one fewer $1 billion. But there's this weird, again, even, and that's the weird thing culturally, is that there's this fear of scarcity, like top to bottom, because everything
Exactly.
is so fickle. So it's like you have the richest people just like patting themselves in a bunker of cash where they can't be touched. And it's like whatever's happening out there, they can't get me. It's like, but no one wants you. No one is coming for you. But that's the impression that our cultural narrative has turned into, is that if someone disagrees with you or says you should give more or work more or learn more or care more, then that means that someone's coming after you to take something away from you. When in all actuality, it's better for you too to be part of a collective.
Exactly. And I think going back to what we were talking about, that's why a 16-year arc can give us that time. Because right now, the next 4 years, Kamala wins. It's about, wow, woman president, and that's what it needs to be. Woman color president. Look how awesome she's running it, and it's changing, and they're going to keep building up the economy, and then hopefully we can really begin by that point to showcase how to support each other, to take care of each other, because I think it's just society has to keep moving away from this mentality right now of mine, only me, only me. And the more we can further take care of each other, and I think we're going to see it through technology and all these things, the easier it will be for us to begin those bigger conversations. And I think it's coming, and I think it's a part of it. It's just right now we're dealing with racism, and still we're dealing with this like bigotry in life that I think we can confront it this time because of so much of the stuff that we've confronted since 2020. I think this is why the pandemic happened. If I'm looking at it now as like somebody that's observing just the energy trends, like that really changed us from where we were at 2016 to 2020. Like we were dealing with potentially this guy could have been running, and then something as crazy as the pandemic shifted everything. And for the last 4 years, we have been in that shift. And now I think with Biden stepping out, it once again shifts the conversation. It pushes us away from that and just keeps saying, like, no, we gotta stop trying to worry if a black person has more power or money than you. Doesn't matter. Stop. Stop. Like it doesn't matter if a Mexican person owns their own business or if a woman wants to do whatever they want to do with their body. Like just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are real things, and I think because I think we probably want to wrap it up a little bit here,
Sure.
but like I think it's like when we talk about like autonomy of our body, it gets so caught up in the personal issues of abortion, and I think all why I'm saying this is society needs to remember like society is a structure of laws and rules. It's not perfect. It's meant to be mediated. It's meant to be shifted. And then there are natural laws that like gravity and air that you have to breathe and food. Those things are real, and we have to keep separating man-made laws versus natural law, because I think that's where religion and all this stuff has gotten so crossed over for so too long, is it's made people confused. And I think that's what I want to see, is just to remind people like man-made law isn't perfect and it should be continued to be worked upon, but you cannot worry about man-made law controlling other people,
Right.
because I think it is our nature to make choices for ourselves. That is free will. It is our nature. So I can't tell you what to do with your body. And it shouldn't, when we have that conversation, it shouldn't be just because of your morals. It should be because of you as a person matter. And if we remove your ability to choose for yourself, then we're removing your ability for free will. And that is the bedrock of America, is that we are a country built on this concept of free will. That's what our fathers gave us, is that, because before that, not a lot of countries could even begin to write that into a constitution. You were a monarch, you were a person, a subject of a bigger family. Free will was what we indoctrinated in this country, and that's something we can't like sacrifice. And free will, I think intellectually it can be hard to navigate when we put moral clauses on trying to understand why we've created a legislation to understand the rights of our freedom.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
those things, I think those things are we're trying to keep reminding people. That's why the debate of sexual, your body, like abortion's rights and everything has come back up, because we're having to remind people, do you really want to control how people choose their body? Because that's not America. That's a completely
Right.
different country then. You
And
know?
also, it's just such a waste of a conversation. Like, who are you helping when you tell other people what they can and cannot do with their body? Who are you benefiting? It has nothing to do with you. It oppresses them, makes them upset, causes even more factions, which I guess is kind of the point, because it's just distracting. So you don't actually have to talk about anything substantive that actually would be productive. But I hope we can do that. Speaking of things that are productive, and we didn't even talk about of the mess of the past week, was that whole worldwide software breakdown.
That was the Matrix rebooting. That was the Matrix.
Like, I barely even noticed because all of this craziness was going on, but that was pretty crazy.
It was very crazy. Literally, to me, that's what people thought Y2K was gonna be. That was like
Exactly.
maybe Y2K. That was like little Y2K. You know, like little too 4K. That's what I'll call it.
Anywho,
uh,
that notwithstanding, but I
that's a
mean,
mess too.
to me, that, like, if anything should be unifying for all of the humans, it should be how weird that shit was.
I agree. It was very weird, and I definitely think it was a real wake up call. But I think that that's kind of technology is going to be playing a big factor in a lot of this. I think AI and all that stuff, and I think technology was like behind the curtains, being like, "Don't forget about me. I'm still here.
I'm always watching, always controlling.
I got the good eye. I got the good eye."
Oh, you think you can just fly somewhere when you want to? Ha ha. No, no.
Oh, AI, she's the real supreme. She's
Coming in hot.
coming in hot. She's like, y'all just keep playing it out right now. uh,
Well,
but yeah,
anywho.
that it was a mess, but it was actually kind of an ellipses mess. It just was like adding on to everything. It was like, oh, we're just adding more to this, and I don't think we could process. I know I could process this. I remember reading and looking at the news and just being like, huh, my brain don't work no more.
Exactly. Full on mess. Just so many of these instances, even though they're unrelated. But that one too, I was like, how, what, what is this? I'm confused. But I get, hey, whatever. I'm known to be confused, and that's okay. I love to learn, and unconfuse myself about things so I can get confused about new things. So,
Yeah. So I feel like, a good way to wrap it up is, like you said, like we said, this is called the mess. So I feel like right now the mess that we're swimming in is kind of like a weird pool of gelatinous mess, but maybe some of the trash is out a little bit. And
uh-huh,
hopefully I'd like to see the mess maybe clear up over the next few weeks a little bit more.
absolutely. It's a hopeful mess.
It's a hopeful mess. I mean, America's a mess. It's always going to be a
Yeah.
little messy. We've
And the
we've
whole
swept a lot
universe
on.
was built out of chaos, so
Yeah, what?
who knows what
But
could happen? Something great.
but we will definitely, hopefully, be having another episode. I think definitely we've talked around the Democratic convention,
Mhm.
so maybe we'll have a different type of mess at that point, and maybe it'll be much more organized a little bit. So we'll
Uh,
see how things play out. But this has been a good one. I've actually this has been really nice to have this time with you, Amani, to talk about all of this stuff from the last few weeks, and I think it's helped me get some of the mess in order.
yeah, it's really easy to just take on all the mess and it's just in here. And it's like, am I? Are you? Okay.
Mhm.
So neither of us is crazy,
And
or
for
at least
anybody
not in
that's
that way.
watching, you let us know how you're dealing with the mess. Leave us a comment. Let us know if this helps at all. We hope we've at least brought some laughs to you, some entertainment as well. We are both artists, and so we definitely like to bring a little animation to our faces and our gestures. So hopefully you've enjoyed some of our comedy as well. We're not trying to make this too heavy.
Right, because we could go there,
We could, we could get our
but we won't.
Get our Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters faces on.
Get ready.
Get ready. All right.
Love you.
Bye. Love you too. Bye.